Now let's turn to Afghanistan. And back in December, the Taliban stunned the international community when they banned women from working for aid agencies. They claimed they'd broken dress codes by not wearing hijabs. The move triggered condemnation, but it also prompted many of those leading NGOs to stop all of their operations in Afghanistan. Well, one group that's worked in the country for more than 2 decades is the Norwegian Refugee Council. Their Secretary General has been meeting Taliban officials in an effort to restart aid operations, but with one condition, that they allow female staff to actually work. Well, we'll talk to Jan Egeland live on the programme. He's the man who's had those meetings. But before we do, let's just remind you of the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan, because the figures I'm about to read come from the UN Refugee Agency. 24 million people in Afghanistan are in need of vital humanitarian relief, with more than half the population now reliant on humanitarian aid to survive. 3/4 of people's incomes is now spent on food. 6 million people are teetering on the brink of famine, and 1 million children face severe malnourishment. Well, let's go live to Kandahar in southern Afghanistan and the Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council. Jan Egeland, welcome here to the programme. Now, you've had those meetings with Taliban leaders. What did you say to them, and what did they say to you?
Well, I told them that they had effectively banned our work. They made it impossible for us to work. That's why we stopped everything from the 25th of December. We cannot reach women, widows, single mothers and their children with our male staff. That would be really against the tradition and the cultures of the Afghan countryside. But we will not either cast aside all of our female colleagues. It would be against everything we stand for as a principled global employer.
And what did they say to you?
They told, paradoxically, in these ministers and Taliban leaders that I met in Kabul say they agree with me. They are in favor of both female education, that I also brought up, and that we should be able to work with our female colleagues. But this was a decree coming from the supreme leader himself from Kandahar, and then they just have to pass on the ban. They say they are working for a reversal. They urged me to start work with males only. I say I cannot. It would not be good work. We wouldn't reach those in greatest need, and we would really compromise ourselves globally with a very bad precedent.
It is worrying, the responses that you have just described, because I remember a year or so ago when girls' education was stopped, the Taliban at that stage said, yes, we want to restart it, we just need to look at security concerns, and we know where that has ended up 12 months later. You must really fear the same sort of dynamic is at play here.
Yes, we're fearful, and this could last some time, really. And that will lead to people dying here. The situation is as bleak as you described it. But there is talk about new decrees. I will try to bring this to the leadership in Kandahar that is behind all of this. There was a tremendous internal struggle within the Taliban between the extremists who want to impose all of these bans on education and work for females, and all of these others who feel now in charge of and responsible for the well-being of the population of 14 million. We need to have the sense prevail, and therefore I've also met with Iran, Turkey, Qatar, who have embassies here, and urged them to help us.
Yes, but before I get on to some of those other issues, just a twin question then. Tell me a little more about the consequences of the decision that has already been taken and the fact that you haven't been able to operate on the ground. And you referenced there that you were trying to actually get to people who are determining the actual policy. Have you been able to actually organise that meeting, that critical meeting?
We're still working on having the meeting with the Ulema Shura, the Council of Scholars that is advising the supreme leader, Emir, whom it's impossible for us to reach directly. Also try to meet the governor of Kandahar. So we're turning every stone here. We're reaching the population, including the Taliban rank and file, through all local and national Afghan media, including BBC Pashto, BBC Persian, and whatnot.
Sure. So that's how you're campaigning and trying to get that central message across. Yeah. So just a final thought then, in terms of the consequences. We're already in the harsh winter months. Tell me, by this stage in a year, how many people would you have already helped, and how many now are simply at risk because you cannot operate?
Well, since the Taliban took over 1.5 years ago, my organization helped 850,000. We were planning to reach 700,000 in 2023. Today, we're reaching no one. The sister organizations that have also been forced to stop, combined, we reach millions. So it's a dramatic thing that we are forced to stop in the middle of winter. People are in the cold. It's snowing here. It's freezing. People are starving. We need a reversal of these bans, both on education and on work for females. And we need anyone who can influence the Taliban to help us.
Well, Jan Egeland, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us live from Kandahar. If there are developments and those meetings happen and there is progress on this story, perhaps we will talk again in the coming days. Thanks so much.